My man Max, thank you so much for coming on the Winners Paradigm podcast, brother. It's been awesome getting to know you on a personal level through Instagram recently because we started getting in touch, and two, just seeing the great man you are, dude, by the way you show up in life. Something that's commendable. It made me want to be a better dad as well, where I'm like, hey, this is what we need to be around is people who have the same mission, who show up every single day, no matter how they're feeling. So thank you for that. Thank you for your service, brother. Before I jump into it and get ahead of myself, would you mind giving us a brief intro, who you are, what you're passionate about today, brother?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name is Max Taylor. So my big core values right now are faith, family, fitness, and business. And so if it's not one of those, I don't really mess with it too much. Those are my base things I want to get after every single day. So I'm a father of two, husband of one. I'm 39 years old, 21, almost 21 years in the military. It'll be 21 years this summer. And yeah, born and raised in Houston, Texas, and typical blue collar family. And I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that. So yeah, that's who I am. That's what I do. So, oh, you're muted, man.
Oh, thank you about that, brother. I don't know why I muted myself, but gave you a shout out on Instagram real quick. So I posted it on there. Before we get started, get way too
Thank you.
far ahead of us. Let's talk about the beginning. You jumping in the
Okay.
military, because that was something you shared on Instagram lately, and then really where that brought you to right now, brother.
Yeah. So, like, why I joined?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, man, so I joined when I was 18, going on 19, because that's the first time I got married and I needed a job. But where I was growing up and where was raised, nobody was hiring a white male out of high school without a college education. I applied several different places, including like Blockbuster, HEB, like like grocery stores, everything, like basic level entry minimum wage jobs, and nobody would hire me. So I decided I was going to join the military, and initially it's because I needed a job. I needed a way to provide for my first wife, and then second to that, it became a way of like just like wanting to serve and do better, and like do better for other people. And I found that I could do that by and through and with the military. So, and then third thing became like really appreciating the lifestyle it provided for me, like a lifestyle of discipline and like forcing me to do things that, let's be honest, like before I turned like maybe 35, I wouldn't have done on my own anyways. So I was thankful for that too.
Hell yeah, brother. And I get you 100%, brother. I did the same thing before I went in the military. I was the only job that I was going to get was McDonald's. And I wrestled year round. So even before I went to the Marine Corps, I was fucking running 16 miles a day, still just slaving myself away, wrestling. Hey, if the opportunity comes, or I want to go to community college, or I didn't think that was going to happen. I knew I want to go to the Marine Corps. And then I would kind of talk shit about I want to wrestle for the Marine Corps wrestling team. So I was staying in shape, and then McDonald's called, and I was taking a nap because I was just like putting myself to full exhaustion, trying to cut weight before I went into boot camp. And it was funny because that was the only job, and like the only other thing I can do is work in the fields. But again, I said I was wrestling year round, so I was like, "There's no way I could have been wrestling year round and working in the fields." I had friends like that; those dudes like had no energy all the time. I was like, "Yeah, I can't do that," you know. So definitely love the mission there. Is I did the same thing, you know, went in, loved the life it provided, and then really went into the core values. And now, you know, you're talking about that, dude. One of the things that I love about you is you're real vulnerable, especially when you talk about things. And it's not that, you know, we had it the worst or anything of that nature. It's just saying
Right.
that the life that we noticed wasn't the life, you know, wasn't the life that resonated with us. And that's something that's powerful that you shared, you know, is, and we'll touch on that next. So can you please touch up on, you know, the drinking element of how you were drinking a lot, and then really what you seen as a kid and started repeating once you got older, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can vividly remember when I was 14, 15 years old. One of the first times I ever had a drink, it was the night before Easter. My father and mother had gotten in this huge fight because both of them had been drinking. They'd been at each other's throats, of course. I think my father threw my mom up against the wall, and then he left because like he realized like, okay, I can't be in this situation. I need to detach and leave. At least he had those brains to do that, right? And then my mom was drunk, and so like I had a little brother and sister, and they were counting on Easter being there the next day. So like, what did I do? Well, one, I was upset and angry, so I started drinking because that's what they did. So I grabbed my father's bottle of Cuervo out of the closet, out of the pantry, and I grabbed a couple of buds and went to my room, started drinking. And then like I realized like I've got to put the Easter eggs out for the morning, or the kids, like my little brother and sister, are gonna have Easter eggs to hunt. So I did that. And I remember I drank, I don't know how much Cuervo, but like 5, 6 beers. My first time ever drinking. Felt horrible the next morning. Woke up still drunk. He was asleep on the couch. I remember charging at him on the couch, and like my mom having to scoop me up and basically carry me back to my room. And she knew, like as soon as like I know that she knew as soon as she picked me up and scooped me up and carried me back to my room because she just put me back to bed. She said, "Don't wake up for a couple hours. Like just go back to sleep." So yeah, man. So like growing up around it and then like seeing it, and I thought that's what I had to do in order to cope with my feelings, my anger, and my stress. And so then like that's probably where it all started. It was around the age of 15. Um, so like I didn't drink a lot throughout my teenage years, but like once I got married and moved out of the house, I was married to a woman who was older. She could buy alcohol for me. And so like that's what I had her do. So she bought alcohol for me quite a bit. I remember drinking entirely too much at a younger age, but really not knowing why I was drinking so much. And then, a couple deployments, a little bit of PTSD mixed in there only makes things worse. You know what I mean? And then,
Yep.
like you get back from deployment, you're like, okay, I've been away from alcohol, then you start drinking again. And then,
Yep.
like at first, it's just like you're just dating it, right? You're just like, oh, I'm having alcohol like once a weekend, or once a week, and then before you know it, you're having one a day or two a day, and like before you know it, you're back in the grips of it. That's definitely what happened to me. Um, then in between marriages, I partied really hard, like really hard because for whatever reason I felt like I needed to because I didn't have that party stage when I was younger, right? Because I got married at 19, so I felt like I needed a party. So I went out, partied hard, did a lot of stupid things, spent a lot of stupid money. Um, I just I'm lucky to be alive. I'll say that. And then I
Same.
met my current wife, and she saw something in me that nobody else did for whatever reason. I'm not sure what it was. I'm still not sure to this day sometimes what she saw in me, but she saw something in me that nobody else did. And I remember when I wrecked my car, because I wrecked my car. She told me, if you don't straighten up, I'm out of here. Like she told me flat out, like you either got to get your stuff together or I'm out. I was like, okay, all right. So I got my stuff together for a little while. For a little while, we got married in 20 2014, and then my oldest was born in 2017. My oldest was born, I turned back to alcohol because she was born with several medical complications, and I just didn't know how to deal with that cope, with that stress. Like I didn't know how to deal with those feelings. The only way I knew how to deal with it was to turn back to the bottle. So that's what I did. I started drinking again heavily. At first I was drinking like 2 tall boy buds every single day. And then eventually it became like two of those plus a couple 12 ounces. And then before I know it, I was probably drinking at least a 6 pack a night, if not more. And that happened for several months, and then the kid came home, after a month and a half, and I continued to drink, of course, and try to work and try to be a father and try to be a husband. Like I didn't know what I was doing. One,
Yeah.
as being a father, and two, having a kid with medical complications. I didn't know how to support my wife, so what did I do? I just continued to drink alcohol and make things worse. Really did that for a while. I had to live separately from her for about 8 months thanks to the military, because the kids' medical complications, they couldn't move with me when I had to go to school. So I had to go to school it was supposed to be 6 months. About halfway through, Gabriella had to have a procedure. So I went home for that, and that reset my time a little bit. So I just kind of start over, not completely, but like at the halfway point. So it kind of pushed me back a couple of months. At the end of all that, we came back together and moved to where we live now. And that was probably the roughest PCS move we ever went through. When we got up here, we've been through 3 different states and 3 different hospitalizations on the move. So she was hospitalized in Arizona, had to go back to Texas, was hospitalized there. And then when they flew into where we live now, she was hospitalized the second day after arriving here. And I remember my wife telling me verbatim, she said, "Hey, we're going to be divorced within a year." Like she told me that, like verbatim. We're sitting in a hospital room. She told me we're going to be divorced within a year. And like that gave me like a kind of a wake up call. Like number one, I need to either cut back or quit drinking. And number two, like this is where life is at. And if I don't do something to make things better, this is where it's going to end up at. Like, because she's always been cutthroat with me, which I really appreciate. I really appreciate that about her. So yeah, and then that brought me to 2019, and then from there, like I slowly started to cut back on drinking, little by little by little. I almost quit for a couple years there, and then for whatever reason, like I went in right before I took command. It was about 6 months before I took command. I went to try on my ASUs and couldn't fit in them. And I was like, oh, I'm fat. I am
Yep.
fat. Like if I can't put on my dress uniform for a DA photo, I'm fat, right? And so at that point, I decided, okay, well, I've got to get serious about my diet and serious about working out again. So I did that first. And then really cut back on drinking. I was only drinking like once a weekend or so. And then it was New Year's last year, not New Year's this year, New Year's last year. I woke up hungover, and couldn't get up to play with my daughters. And I was tired and lethargic, and I was a piece of junk, basically. I decided I can't live like this anymore. I quit. I just completely quit drinking. That was my big aha moment. So lots going on there. So I'm sorry for like rambling, but yeah.
No, no, I love it, dude. I really love it, brother. And thank you for being vulnerable here.
Yeah.
Went through similar, dude, just fucking drinking like a madman and didn't process that trauma. And it was the same way for me. It really hit me last weekend. I haven't drank in about over a year and a half, almost a year and a half, excuse me. October will be 2 years. And it was funny when I was talking to my dad last Sunday, and that dude can't drop the bottle. He's almost 50, and it's just like, he was crying about it. Well, he pulled the race card. Well, we're Mexican, and growing up, my family drank every day. And I'm like, bro, that's fucking bullshit. Like, my family drink, my mom and my stepdad drank every day. And my stepdad would use I'm a factory worker. I'm a blue collar, hardworking man. I deserve a beer after a nice day. And it's like, no, you don't, dude. Like, you don't live where you're at. You look like shit. And he had a high metabolism. So he would drink every day. And then, for instance, like, it would be Halloween. He would grab all the kids' candy, my brother and sister. He'd pour it into a pile, and he'd just sit there drinking and eat all the fucking candy. And he'd be like, "Oh, I can't gain weight." And it was just like the fact of like, that's what you show your kids. So it was funny. And then really yesterday, this was something that I actualized was there's another army guy, Annex Singh, I believe is his Instagram. And he posted like drinking a Budweiser that was 0% alcohol. And like, I hit him up and I was like, "Hey bro, that's respect. Like, you do that." And he's like, "Yeah, bro, it's not worth drinking and getting fucked up and then not being able to perform and being hungover." And I was like, "Dude, that's 100% right." And I'm like, that's one of my biggest things now as a parent. So that's why when you said that, like being hungover, not being able to be there for your kid, luckily I wasn't at the tail end of drinking crazy when my daughter was like little. And it was funny because like even one day, I got messed up and I still got up. That was like the last time I got drunk, got up with the kid, and I was just like, there's no way, that I would be able to be hungover and then just be like, "Ah, I can't do this," and show my kids that. And two, it's like, how could we be complaining about how bad things were for us or how we hated it or how we repeated the same thing and then continually did it? And it's funny because when you were sharing that, there's the actualization and then there's the action behind it. And that's one of the things that irritates me with a lot of people right now. It's like they have the clarity, they have the actualization, they just don't take it. And they're like, "Oh, I just do my thing. I like to have fun." And that was one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, was the discipline factor, brother. It's powerful that we could be disciplined, but what I find funny is people think that discipline is not fun. And then when you really like become disciplined, you realize that the fun part is being disciplined. So could you talk about that factor, brother? Because you've had the transformation. You look amazing from the beginning of your journey to where you are now. How how fun is it for you to just continually live the life of being disciplined and then showing other people that it's not as difficult as they think?
Yeah, man, for sure. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because I'll talk about being a realistic fitness trainer, right? And so what I'm trying to drive home with that is like, yes, I understand we all have life, and I understand we all have stressors, but it's realistic for all of us to be so much more and to
Yeah.
be so much better. And the like the disciplines and like the joy I find in my day now and in my process is undefined. Like you can't pay me to drink enough to get that buzz and think that that buzz is going to replace the feeling I have from the joy in the process. So, like, if you would have told me like 18 months ago or 2 years ago that I could run for 2 hours straight without stopping, I would have told you you're crazy, right? If you had told me 18 to 2 months or 18 months to 2 years ago that I could run a marathon in less than 4 hours, I would have told you you're nuts, right? I would have been like, there's no way. But now, like because of the discipline and the joy in the process, I'm able to set goals and like do that work in order to hit those goals and then feel fucking amazing on the back end, right? Like I don't know, like I'm sure it's probably like the equivalent to you setting a PR on a deadlift and then hitting it. But for me, like just the fact that I was able to run that marathon, the feeling of joy that I had afterwards was unmatched by anything else that is ever related to like drinking or substance abuse or anything like that. The only thing that has ever touched those kinds of feelings is getting married and having children. Like,
Boom.
and that's it, man. Like I put it right there on the same hand as like getting married and having children. Like setting those goals and being able to achieve those things because you put in the work is unmatched. So now like I don't know, like I used to drink till 2 or 3 in the morning. Now I'm waking up somewhere between 2 and 4. You know what I mean? Like I get up between 2 and 4 a.m. every single day, right? And
Yep.
I spend the first 10 minutes journaling, and I spend the next 10 minutes listening to my affirmations, and then I spend the next 10 minutes taking care of stuff for the family, like it's fixing the kids' milk bottle, fixing the kids' water bottle, like setting up the family for success before I go out and I do my physical training in order to set myself up for
Boom.
success. And so, like being grounded in that every single day, I can't find anything other than joy to move forward through in the morning. Like there's no frustration, there's no anger. Like I'm just happy to hit my morning after that. So
Yeah, bro, I love that, and I can really empathize there. Especially getting up, and that's one of the things where I used to be like, "Oh, is my son gonna wake up?" Luckily, now he's at a stage where he's just sleeping through, so I don't have to make him a bottle. But there was a couple times where I'm like, "Oh, he's fine. Go to the gym." My wife hits me up, "Hey, you need to come back and make him a bottle." She's not feeling well. I'm like, "Okay," so I go ahead and do it. It could easily be a fight. It could easily be
right.
whatever, and then it was making the bottle, then going to the gym, and it's funny because you said that point, and one thing that really for me that hit, and I can definitely relate to that, is I have a buddy who's a bodybuilder, and dude's jacked to the T. He just I love him to death, but right now we're not aligning because of the habits and so forth. So he can't make his own commitments to himself, and he was out partying until 4 in the morning, right? And it was funny because he was doing that, and he was trying to say like, you can live this life, you can have fun, blah blah, blah, and he was drinking. But he was saying one thing, do another, and I was just saying, for me, like, I don't fuck with that. That doesn't resonate with me, because when I did that, that didn't let me be the best of myself. And I was like, bro, you go to sleep at 4. I was up at 2. I got to work out in by 4:30. I was already doing cardio, and I was fucking on to the next thing, recording a podcast, doing whatever. And really, that didn't hit me until this year, New Year's, where like I seen people partying, going out, whatever. And it was just really funny because New Year's I was in December 31st, 2022. Me and the wife were gonna split, so I tried to go to the one of the gyms I was going to. It didn't open until 6 in the morning. So I walked 2.5 miles to get there. It's closed. It was raining, so I'm fucking soaked. And I'm like, well, might as well walk back home. So I'm pissed off. And then really this year at a new gym, and I'm lifting at that time. And it was just like that breakthrough within the moment. Like you said, it literally feels as good as when your kid's born, after you got married, whatever it is. And I was just like, fuck, dude, it feels so good that I'm not drunk right now, that I am at the gym early, that I'm processing things differently, that I'm not comparing myself to these other people. Like, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And people get mad at me like, oh, you can't say that everybody around you is this. I'm like, no, fuck that, dude. Like, I require excellence around me, because when I didn't require excellence around me, it led me to bad shit in my life. I was doing bad things. I was like, bro, I was 19 years old, E4 in an E6 position in the Marine Corps, being like, oh, I'm the shit because I'm in charge of people. I'm in charge of 200 people, and I can do this or that. And it was the work hard, play hard is what I was taught. And it got me to nowhere in my life. Yes, I was going to school at nighttime. I was staying to work fucking 1900, then going to school, waking up for 04 for PT. And that was my logic was, oh, I'm doing all this. Just like my dad would say, oh, I'm doing all this shit. Look at me, but can't show up for your own fucking family. And that was something for me too, is like, how am I going to be a better husband, better dad, if I'm not even doing the things I need to? So that's something for me, definitely, like, when I talk to people, and that's why I love you, bro, is you're about that shit, and you do it every single day, whether you're not. And that's something that will be the next step. Is what I respect about you, brother, is you share everything, and that's the power. People think like, oh, I don't want to share this, and that's the power of sharing the uncomfortable shit, is the breakthrough. Bro, you are so disciplined when it comes to the macros and staying up on your stuff. It's literally annoying sometimes because you're always putting your macros. You're like, here's this, here's the Greek yogurt, here's this. Like, I couldn't have what I wanted, but I still made this happen. And I'm like, fuck, dude, you're making me want to be better. You're making me want to level up. I don't like this. And I sit with that emotion, and I'm like, he's forcing me to be better. And that's what you need. It's those friends that make you uncomfortable. So can you talk about the power, brother, of continually showing up, having the proper nutrition for your macros, no matter where you're at, even if you're traveling, brother?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I'll be honest and upfront. I made a huge mistake when I first started my fitness journey, or I guess restarted my fitness journey, if you will. And I thought keto was the way to go. And like looking back now, that was really, really stupid. Yes, I lost a lot of weight, and yes, part of that was running so much. But like I really put my body into some challenging and troubling positions. I ran my first half marathon, and I remember it was about 3 or 4 days afterwards. I went back out for another run, and my knee just started to hurt. Like it immediately started to hurt, and I was like, oh man, I had injured a muscle in my knee. It took me 6 months to rehab it, and that's because my nutrition was jacked up. But I didn't know it at the time. I thought keto was the way to go. So my macros were all messed up. I was very heavy on fats, kind of moderate on proteins, really low on carbs. So I went and saw nutritionists and started learning from them one on one, and started working with them one on one. What I found is through a balanced diet and through the right macros for your body, you can heal your body really quickly, like from all the damage you may have done to it over the years, either by eating keto, or just by eating fast food, or just not by not eating healthy. Your body responds really quick once you turn around and you get the right nutrition, the right macros. And number two is like I can feel, I can literally feel the difference between when I hit the right amount of carbs and proteins and fats, specifically looking at more carbs for me overall, because I'm now an endurance athlete versus like when I haven't consumed 150 grams of carbs. The next day
Yep.
when you go to work out, like your energy's not there, or at least for me, my energy's not there, number one. And number two, like if I'm going to run on 4 to 5 hours of sleep, which I like to run on 4 to 5 hours of sleep. I need those carbohydrates to carry me through the next day for the energy levels, right? And if I don't have them, like I'm sleepy, I'm groggy, I'll be falling asleep while I'm driving, even if I'm drinking coffee, like all those things happen. But by fueling your body properly, fueling your body properly, you're able to do things you never imagined, right? If you had told me that I could hold a 5 to 8 mile run at a 7:30 pace or faster, I would have told you that you're nuts. But now, because I have the right nutrition and the right training program, I can do things like that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I ran a 5 mile run the other day in less than 35 minutes. I was like, this is what's up. Like I was
Hell
super
yeah,
happy
bro.
with that pace. Yeah. But it's all because you eat the right macros and you eat the right nutrition, you follow your plan. So you talked about like when you're traveling specifically. So like when you're traveling, the easy thing to do is say, hey, I'm going to grab McDonald's, or I'm going to go to Wendy's, or we're going to go out to eat at Chili's or whatever, versus like just going to the grocery store and spending 20 to 30 bucks on stuff that you can cook in your microwave, right? You can cook it literally in your microwave if you have nothing else to cook with. It may not be the most glamorous stuff, but if you pay attention to the nutrition labels and you know where you're supposed to be at, it's totally possible and you can do it on a budget. And so I
Yeah.
find like one, I save money. Two, I'm not tempted to drink because I'm not hanging out in a restaurant where other people are drinking. And three, like I don't have to order something off the menu and then guess like, is this close or is this what I need? Like I can measure out exactly what I need by shopping at a grocery store and eating it out of the microwave at the hotel. Yeah, it's not glamorous, and no, it's not fun for some people. But again, like you got to ask yourself, are you there to have fun and go out to eat with people and like enjoy yourself in the restaurant, which you can do once in a while, but do you need to do it every night? Or are you more committed to your goals, right? And which is
Oh
it for you? So
man, I love that so much, brother. And that's something I'm learning as well. And like I was telling you um, before, this year, last year, I was like getting cut and I was like, oh, I'm going to lose weight. And I'm getting cut, and I was getting back in there and I've been fucked up from just fucking up my body from when I was in the Marine Corps, eating like shit, drinking at a young age, and all that caught up to me, fucked up my metabolism. Well, fucked up my metabolism twice. First is because I would cut weight in high school for wrestling. So I'd do 30 pounds in like 3 days and fucked me up. And then two, when I was in the Marine Corps, it was that way. But I didn't understand that when you drink, you have 72 hours for your metabolism to reset. So really, if you're drinking even on Sunday, you're not good until Thursday, because your body's still pushing everything out and filtering it and whatever. So I didn't really realize that. And then Friday, you're back to drinking, or Thursday night, you're back to drinking. So it was like I was fucking working out. I was doing two until I did 2-a-days, and I was just slaving away and fucking eating salads and chicken every day. Then I was getting shredded. But it was funny because at the end of last year, I got with one of my buddies, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to show you basically what Wes Watson does for his guys, blah blah blah, and this is how we're gonna get you shredded quick." So he's like 100 grams of carbs, and you're just gonna eat this off berries and chicken off everything. And I was just like, "Okay, that's what's up." So I tried it, like the low carbs. It made me feel good. But here goes the point that you were saying. Not having the fucking energy. I did a drive where it was 2.5 hours in one way, and then 4.5 coming back. Because, well, 5 because of traffic. So the whole time in traffic, I was like, and I did a hike too. So I want to go lift. It was supposed to just be a lift. And then someone there's like, "Hey, you want to go hike and do a podcast?" And I was like, "Fuck it, dude, let's do it." So through the hike, I was like, it was like a 7-mile hike. We ended up doing just 3. I was like, I don't want to do more because I'm not eating carbs. I'm gonna fucking crash when I'm driving, because I'm gonna just crash mentally from not having the carbs, being tired. And literally that happened. And it was funny because I got hungry, and the easy fucking part was McDonald's every 10 minutes. on the side of the freeway. And then I stop at a Target. I'm like, oh, I'll go to Target. I'll grab something healthy, bro. All that shit was trash. All the wraps that they had was trash. None of it was good for the macros. It was either their fats were way too high, the carbs were either way too high. And then at the end of the year, I did a 10-day fast. So I finished all that up, 10-day fast, went back into lifting again, thinking I can eat the 100 grams of carbs. Like, nah, bro, my body felt like shit. I was terrible. Upped it to 200 grams of carbs. All of a sudden, had the energy, feeling better, start building muscle. It's actually funny because I was talking to my wife about it last night. Like, I started when I upped my grams to 200 grams of carbs and then 230 grams of protein. I started gaining muscle, and I look at the scale, and she's like, "Oh, how much do you weigh?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I weigh 195 again." Like, I gained weight, and I thought I was cutting. And she's looking at me. She's like, "Well, you look more toned. You look more, have more definition. That's just the way your body is." And then I was just like, "That's crazy." For me, even on a cut, I'm over here gaining muscle, and I'm not even trying to do that. I'm trying to just literally cut to get the six pack coming in, and all of a sudden, I'm gaining, looking better, just because I upped my carbs, had it match with the protein, made sure that they hit this goal, and now I'm showing up differently. So I love that you mentioned that, brother, because that's powerful. As people don't understand the fact of the macros, what it leads to, when you get those dialed in. And you also talked about, being a present father, showing up every day, being that best man that you can be. Could you talk about that portion real quick, brother, on what it's like now that you're fully present, now that you're showing up every day, and now that you're sharing that with the world is, hey, look what I'm doing after I healed myself, and I'm teaching others to do the same.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, man. So I believe in being invested, innovative, and nurturing. And so, like, invested means like I am there and I'm present in the moment. Innovative means I'm always looking for new ways to connect with my family. And then nurturing means I'm going to nurture those relationships so that my children and my wife remember me whenever I'm not present, right? It's like whenever I have to travel for work a lot. So, like, whenever I'm not present, they'll have those memories to remember. So like for me, like number one, like when I was drinking and I was an alcoholic, self-diagnosed, like a lot of the time, all I would think about is like, okay, where are we gonna go to lunch so I can have a beer?
Yep.
And like, is that fair? One, is that fair for me to dictate where we're gonna go eat just because I need to have a beer? Or it should be a conversation with my wife, like, hey, what would you like to have? Okay, a lot of my life controls what we do anyways because I'm in the military. So like, what can I turn over to you to where you can have some control over what you want to do? And like now, looking at that's the first thing. Like just being open and being able to have her have the choice. Number one. Number two, like, what kind of moron? Like, and I can say this now because I was there. What kind of moron drives their decisions over like what kind of beer they're gonna be able to have, or if they're gonna be able to get a beer or not? Like, how stupid is that? Like I don't know. For me, that it was really dumb. And then like the fact that okay, I would drink that night, and then I would have a beer or two with lunch, and then I would need to take a nap to recover from the drinking that I've been doing, cause and what I've done to my body. So like if we went out somewhere, I could always be like, okay, well, we need to be home by like 1 or 2 because I need to get a nap in the middle of the afternoon. Like, and like that was just kind of understood at the time. And again, like the question is, what kind of moron puts that kind of time constraint on their family when they're out doing something just because they need a nap for themselves? So it was super selfish, right? It was super selfish. And I can say all this now looking back. Like I didn't realize it at the time, but that was really stupid, really selfish. I really was a moron. Now I'm able to go out and like as long as I have snacks I can take with me because man I eat all the time now. But as long as I have snacks I can take with me, and which I do, I have applesauce or protein bars or whatever I could throw in the car. I'm good. Like we can go to Children's Museum for 4 or 5 hours. Like we can go and we could say we're not gonna eat lunch till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'd be like, all right, cool. I'll just eat my afternoon snack for lunch instead, and then I'll eat lunch for my afternoon snack. I'll just flip them. Like and just being able to eat flexibly like that allows me to be invested and be present in the moment. I'm not hungover
Boom.
anymore, so I have mental clarity. Like when I'm hanging out with my kids, I can actually pay attention to them. Most of the time, my memory is still kind of crappy, but most of the time, I can remember what we did yesterday or 2 days ago or last week now. Whereas before, there was no way. Like before, before, if my kid asked me, "Hey, do you remember playing this and this with me yesterday?" I'd be like, "Yeah," but really, I'd be lying. Like I wouldn't have remembered playing Barbies and like having Ken jump off the roof into the pool or whatever it is that we did, right? There's no way I would remember that. Now I can vividly remember what we did. I could tell you right now, yesterday morning, after getting off the plane no less than 8 hours prior to that, but getting my 5 hours of sleep, getting up, drinking my coffee, doing my journaling, and then going upstairs, Gabriella wanted to play Barbie. So I can tell you specifically, I remember playing Barbies with Gabriella and Olivia sit there, and she grabbed what we call the little Chelsea dolls, this little sister for Barbie, and she was giving Chelsea doll kisses. And like I can specifically, vividly remember that now Whereas before I was been like, oh, I dragged my ass in the room and I sat there while they played. You know what I mean? So like for me,
Yeah.
that's the key difference. And I think my children, especially my oldest may not necessarily remember what I was like when I was drinking, but she can definitely tell now when I have the energy when I'm engaged. I could tell you that. Like she knows when I'm there, when I'm present, like mentally. She could tell, she could see it. She could also see like, and I'm guilty of it still sometimes. If I carry my phone in the room, of like turning and looking at my phone in between stuff, and she knows like when I'm turning and looking at my phone, because she'll say, Dad, Dad. I'll be like, okay, yeah, you're right. So now what I try to do is most of the time, if I know I'm going to be going in the room for a specific activity, I will leave my phone outside of the room. That way I'm not even tempted to touch it. So, and like I didn't have the wherewithal to do that before when I was an alcoholic or when I was hungover. But now that I'm sober and I'm much more clear mentally, I have the wherewithal to say I need to put that away and detach myself from that distraction so I could be fully invested and present in the moment. And it also comes with like time blocking. So like when am I going to work on business? When am I going to spend time with family? When I'm going to work on work? Like and just being fully grounded in wherever your feet are in that moment. So
Boom, brother. You hit it on the money. And that's what I love, about you is amazing fucking dude. Like you gave your wife a shout out the other day and you're like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without my wife and her taking our daughter to the appointments, whatever. Like that's commendable, because I started taking care of my kids. My nanny moved to Minnesota and that was something for me where I was like, fuck, dude, once I was doing it, I was like, now I understand why it's so fucking frustrating and so hard it gets. Like it's a lot, and two,
yeah.
to be able to do everything, to wake up early and to show up. And it's like, I was drinking, none of that shit would happen. And I love that you said moron. What kind of moron does that? That was something for me. Me and my wife kind of got into it the other day because if I hang out with her family, I used to have to get drunk and just be like to chill out because they're good people, but they just want to chill and have fun. And for me, I'm not like that. I'm fucking pedal to the metal 24/7, So it's like if you're doing this, oh, let's just have fun, let's just drink, like so for me, I had to drink in order to be around them and that now it's like I can be present and I'm like, okay, let's just chill then. But before it was fucking difficult for me because I'm like, y'all fucking suck, dude. Y'all just want to sit here and just bullshit. Like you got one fucking life and we're just sitting here talking about dumb shit, and like I'll just be a complete asshole. And it was funny because that's something I say is like, imagine not doing it. Imagine not drinking, how much time you have on your hands. Imagine what life is. Being around family and you're like, dude, I don't have to. Or even now I start laughing because it's like going to a family party or something and you see everybody having a beer and you're like, nah. And I used to fuck with people and be like, I don't need that shit. I don't need that weak shit. Just piss everyone off. Now I don't even say that. I'm like, I don't need that. Or like they just know, don't fucking come near me. And it's just funny because I'm like, bro, before I thought you had to be drunk in order to have a great time. And then you realize you do the development on yourself and you're like, bro, I don't need any of this shit to feel good. I feel good by just getting the workout in, by showing up, being fully present. So I really appreciate you, brother, for taking time out of your busy schedule today to be here to share that motivational journey, help that man who's struggling on his knees, begging God for shit to change. So thank you, brother. What would you say to the previous version of ourself? We don't know where to start. We just want to align ourselves with our definition of success.
Yeah, so I would say two things. I would say number one, it starts with you. Nothing changes until you change, right? Nothing else in your life is going to get better until you get better. And the second thing I would tell them is you have to figure out why. What's your why? Like, why do you want to change? Why do you want things to be better? Because if that's not clear, and if it's not something other than yourself, if it's just for you, you're probably going to fail or quit at the first sign of adversity. But if you have someone or something else that's counting on you, more likely to stick to it.
Boom. Well, thank you, brother, for coming on. You've been an amazing guest today. Where can people find you, man, if they want to keep up with you? They want to hear more of your story, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Al. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at MadMaxFitness84. You can find me on Facebook at MadMaxFitFam. You can also find me on TikTok at MadMaxFitness84. So
Easy day, brother. We'll send people your way. Thank you again for coming on, brother. You've been an amazing guest. I can't wait to talk to you in the future, and catch up. So thank you again, brother. It was an immense honor.
yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.